Welcome back to the ESL CSGO Pro League, where we just saw Heroic take down Ninjas in Pyjamas 16-11 on Train. An absolutely incredible performance from them, and now they can push on and perhaps take the whole series as we move on to Nuke. My name is Dan Gaskin, and I'm joined on the desk by Mr. Jackie Peters. That was an explosive one. I mean, Nico really stood out for me, but I mean, who'd have thought that? Heroic coming through and taking down NiP, especially considering they were in relegation last season. What went wrong?
That's the thing, it just looked really weird towards the end there for NiP. They had that structure that was working so well, but when Heroic learned how to counter it and weren't playing into the trap, NiP just didn't adapt. And this is odd, as I thought they'd be the sort of team that has that organic playstyle behind them, knows how to work their playbook very well, and would have adapted to a different strategy that would have worked better for them. They just seem to got stuck in their scenario and just got to take it down.
It's quite worrying as well, with Lom being the kind of sub-in. He is the coach and he's filling in that fifth role, and they're still able to take down NiP. And how does that transfer over to Nuke, do you think? How do you think that's going to play out with NiP? Let's be honest, they didn't have too many ideas. They had one take that they were really going for. As soon as that failed, they didn't really know where they were going elsewhere. And Heroic just being very patient, and I feel like if Heroic can get that pistol round and get that CT side, this could possibly be a 2-0, and it would be a massive upset.
Yeah, it would be crazy if Heroic are able to work their way through, pick this up in a 2-0 fashion, and such a dominant performance as well. It would be absolutely huge. NiP in the past has been very good on Nuke. It's been one of their maps that they can perform fantastically on. Heroic as well. They're not against the map. They will play it quite happily. It's going to be interesting to see getting into that. But I feel like just in terms of individual skill right now as well, Heroic are looking fairly scary. Everyone was popping off in key roles. It wasn't overzealous in terms of what they were going for. They were playing on a leash. They weren't trying to go for sort of these frag plays. It was very restricted, but it worked in the scenarios they needed to. They were getting the impact frags they had to pick up, and that was it. After that, they would back off and play it quite strategically, and it worked quite nicely. Whereas Nico was just popping off across the board as well, coming up with some huge frags that allowed them to tie down huge rounds where NiP should have been able to lock it down, work their way through. They're getting just massive openers, but then Nico was there to just come put a blockade. So
interestingly, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works for this series. The last time these guys did face off, it was on Nuke, and NiP came out 16-8. They were victorious in the end, so I wonder if that's going to play in the heads of any of the Heroic players, maybe some of the NiP players, but for sure, NiP definitely can't underestimate Heroic now, especially after that performance on Train. I mean, okay, so Nico went nuts in that game. Let's be honest. The 4K with the pistol was unreal.
That was a huge pistol round.
If you were the coach of Heroic, you're playing on the team apparently, where would you put Nico? I mean, I'm sure they know it, but hypothetically, where would you put Nico on Nuke to make the biggest impact?
Definitely towards that ramp control as well. If we see him sort of around that area controlling ramp, it's going to be quite vital for him to be able to shut things down early. But on those pistol rounds, it just depends what he wants to go for. In terms of how well structurally he was playing, it was just really awesome to see, because he was just going massive. Their entire team has so much pistol potential, so we knew there was going to be some explosive stuff going down those rounds. But when it got into a situation where it was a 1v4 and Nico was able to come up with a play like that, if we see this transfer over onto Nuke, as you're saying, that's where it's going to get just outright ridiculous. Now, especially on that T side as well, on Nuke there is a lot of potential just in terms of range and map control. If we see them exploding out on towards that A bomb site and those early pistol rounds, Nico will be an absolute demon if he's able to pick up frags like that to get those opening frags.
And do we think that NiP once again going to wait until that 30-second mark to make their move on Nuke, or are they going to try something a little bit different here? I mean, how is that going to affect their pushes on Nuke? If they do the same as they did on Train, if they wait for that 30-second mark, is that going to punish them on Nuke? Is it a little bit different there?
It's the same sort of scenario. Nuke especially as well, it's not as effective because of the rotate times. It's very quick to rotate from either side. It's just a simple matter of either dropping through vents or working your way down ramp or through secret. It's very quick, very snappy. So fakes don't really work on the map. It's a lot more just about slow methodical play. You need to try and gain map control through outside, wait it out, and try and use all the utility to your advantage and just going for those all-out aggression towards sites. It's definitely a lot more aim battle related than it is with sort of fakes.
I'm slightly worried for NiP as well. I mean, if they were to lose this series 2-0, I mean, what does that do to the confidence of some of these players? These are some of the greatest players in the world who will want to be pushing on. They'll be expecting to win this Pro League, and they have just lost against a team that came from relegation last season. What do you think is going through their minds right now, being 1-0 down?
It's not really going to hit them too hard, I would imagine. Obviously they've been around for a very long time. All these players are standard. They know how these things sort of go. And essentially the best case scenario you can deal with this is take it as what it is. Take it as the two best of ones, reset your mind, clear your head, go into it with a fresh start, and you just need to bring your A game into it. Take Nuke for what it is as a new map, and pick up this map. Don't go 2-0 down into this.
Yeah, the pistol's going to be a big one, and slightly concerned for NiP, because if Nico continue doing what he was doing in Nuke, then it's going to be worrying for them. And who is the player on NiP that is making those calls? Who is the shot caller that's going to be really making the difference and needs to, let's be honest, shake things up a bit, because they looked pretty, well, bland.
Essentially, it's Fret behind the scenes. You know, he is basically the in-game leader for that team. He's the coach and sort of the sixth man who is in control of everything and works out stuff like that. He's the reason why their playbook is so refined, why it has so much depth into it, and why their strategies are a lot more tweaked than what we used to see. Obviously, Fret was a player that was in a grandiose amount of teams. Obviously, Team Acer was the one that he was, you know, the most known for, but he's been around for a very long time. Very smart Counter-Strike player, knew what he was doing. So when they came together quite a long time ago, it's where the team's been improving on the up and up. That's why their playbook is now so in depth, because you have the structure they have there with all these fantastic players, but then also with the backup of that playbook. So going into this, it's really going to be Fret who's behind the helm.
And is Fret involved, despite it being an online game?
Yeah, he'll be there in that coach role, still.
Yeah, he'll still be there, just keeping an eye and communicating. Because it's very different when it comes to a major. Obviously, coaches aren't allowed to communicate until that tactical timeout. So is that perhaps an advantage, being able to have a coach to constantly communicate with you throughout an online game?
Yeah, definitely so, because that's the thing, it's their home territory. They feel comfortable with that. You know, they have that six-man roster essentially where he's there. He can guide their hand sort of through the game, through that, provide insight where it needs to be, provide those calls and work things out, and it just sort of takes a load off. And
Heroic have just gone one step further. They've just said, well, we'll just bring our coach in and he can play for us. And I mean, it's an interesting fact. Obviously, Frisk was part of that roster and now he has dropped out. I don't really know what went on there. I mean, Cadian is on the roster for the IEM Katowice qualifiers, so he's definitely a part of that squad, and I assume he'll be taking Lom's role, or Lom is currently taking his role. But is there even a possibility, if they have such crazy results throughout Pro League with Lom filling in, can he be thinking, well, actually, maybe I should be playing instead here?
I'm really not too sure what they'll do with that, obviously, with Cadian as well still playing for Rogues. It's interesting. I think they would just use him as a stand-in, but then I don't know. Maybe he will actually be coming into the mix. Could be interesting to see. Obviously, fills that AWP role as well, with Freeze being an AWPer for a very long time. But Snappy's been performing quite well with the AWP. We've seen him definitely stepping up to the mark. We know he can be an effective player. That's why he's so good in terms of his pistol skills. You have both of those things that are, you know, they're very correspondent. They work together, and he's a very damaging player. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But right now, Lom seems to be actually stepping up to the mark and working quite well structure-wise with the rest of his team. Yeah,
filling in well and getting some important kills. And whilst we are still waiting for this game to get underway, I mean, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Nuke. Obviously, Dust 2 is leaving the map pool. It's going to be revamped slightly. They've done the same with Inferno now. Nuke was the first one to get that revamp, really. How has it changed? I mean, if we turn the clocks back about a year when Nuke was extremely CT-sided, what have they done differently to kind of even it out a little bit? Where are we going to expect to see those changes happen?
It's a lot of changes just in terms of quality of life stuff, where we've seen things simplified in a lot of ways, but also changed to try and make a little bit more balance. Stuff like vents has changed to be sort of more reminiscent of Source, but a bit different, where you only have that one side out of vents now, so it's a bit more restricted. They've opened up the map in some areas to try and make it feel a little bit more structure. It's a little bit better in certain ways, but still needs improvement, I'd say. But it's definitely just simpler in a lot of ways to allow the Ts a little bit more access. It's easier to get stuff on top of boost, things like that, to get yourselves out onto rafters outside. It's basically just been made a little bit easier.
Yeah, and well, whilst we're on the topic, I mean, what are your thoughts of Inferno returning to the map pool? I mean, that's pretty big news. I think there's a lot of excitement in the community for Inferno to return. Where are the big changes in that, and how do you think that's going to affect things?
Obviously, with it being playable in Pro League as well now, in the later season coming up, so we'll be exciting to see in the later weeks if we see a lot of Inferno start to work its way back in. Definitely excited. I feel like Inferno has always been the #1 team-based map. If you're a good team, you're good in Inferno. It was essentially just goes hand in hand. It's a great map just in terms of structure, and I'm excited to see it return. Can't wait to see really teams get down to the nitty-gritty.
Well, we are going to get things underway, and it's going to be Heroic on the CT side, but nice early picks from NiP, and they're going to get aggressive, get the bomb down. Exist will drop down to B, and it's a 3v3 situation. And with the bomb down, he needs to try and take an aggressive stance. He does get an early pick onto Moody, and now Get Right going down as well. Just puts it back to a 2 versus 2. Snappy is very low though, Jackie.
Yeah, that was a nice execute towards the A bomb site as well. Just an upper burst as you work your way close through vent into that B bomb site. Very explosive, very quick stuff. Forest will come in with a frag there off on towards Snappy as well. And it's just Nico left standing. That man's a pistol god, but Forest proves he's better with a USP. The vintage Forest comes out, takes him down, and Ninjas in Pajamas snap up the first round.
Yep, great start, exactly what they needed. I'm presuming Heroic did win the knife, and they have taken the CT side if that's the case. But now, NiP with a chance of moving in to possible 3 rounds here. It's still difficult against the CT side on Nuke, even when they do have pistols, and the scout is going to come out from Modi as well. He could do some real damage with that.
This is going to be an interesting one. You can see a very heavy investment into UMPs as well there. They do have free out, but they have that range completely. UMP is obviously still quite effective weapon, so it's not going to be too brash, but they can definitely rack up an awful lot of cash. Valdi playing close in the smoke here. If he plays around this, could actually do a lot of damage to that NiP side as he just bides his time. Will be tagged initially. Just waiting to say peekaboo and pop out and try and find that initial frag. Will transfer a bit of damage over off on towards Exist, but can't quite close it out, unfortunately. Yeah,
very smart play going outside NiP when they do have the rifles. Very difficult to make any real impact with the pistols when you are outside on Nuke here. But Modi does have a real chance. If he can find a headshot or two, this could really swing the game in favour of Heroic, but he's going to be smoked off completely at the moment. I say completely, he has found a little gap here as Nico goes down as well. With Get Right coming in, Snappy will get a response there and find a weapon for himself. And now they need to try and make use of this weapon, as NiP still don't really know where they're going to find anything. And speaking of finding things, Modi gets the head job, Exist comes in, takes him down, and it all just kicks off in A site, and eventually NiP will be the victors, going 2-0 up as expected. Heroic are able to get a couple of kills though.
Yeah, nice slow round there, very methodical stuff. That's what you want to see coming out, as you just, as you were saying, utilize the range they had with those weapons. Go outside, you have that wide open space, you can take the aim battles, pick off your opponents and work your way through. And they did a good job working their way out through there and taking control of the A-bomb site and just locking it down with ease. Get Right as well, he's going to choose to go for that Mach 10, see if he can rack up an abundance of cash as he wants to go for these drive-bys with a weapon.
Yeah, I'm going to push outside once again, Exist with the AK in hand. Smoke's going to come off, but Cloud's taking a nice vantage point here. Might be able to catch someone off guard. He does get flashed out, but Freiburg will respond onto Lom, and Exist, Freiburg and Forest just cleaning things up. Snappy does get a consolation kill, but as the lone survivor, I don't think he's going to stay alive much longer, as NiP quickly clean things up. Faster rounds from NiP. Yes, okay, it's against Ecos, but now this is going to be the deciding factor, this 4th round, when money comes into play for Heroic. Now they can finally get a buy underway, and that AWP is going to be in Snappy's hands once again. Where do we think he might be going, Jackie?
He should just be playing outside with this, just holding it on lockdown, try and hold that cross. Yeah, seems like he will just be playing over from Mac, Garage as well, it's also known as he just sits here behind blue. I'm going to see if that people come out. Ooh, very close to actually landing that through the smoke as he went for that initial shot off. If they would have taken down Exist, that would have been ridiculous. But you can see NiP this time around still trying to take this outside control. They've found so much success here as they've just essentially been given it for free. Snappy's in this elevated angle, playing from quite far back, but no one is going to be able to greet him as they all slowly tiptoe down through secret towards that B-bomb site.
Yeah, I'm just going to avoid the sight lines completely of Snappy. There is going to be one member of Heroic just down here on B. He is in vents at the moment. No noise from NiP, so no information has been gathered just yet. Smoke is down, so they are delaying this push slightly. Grenade's going to come out just in case anyone is waiting. And it will be Lom, the coach of Heroic, who's filling in. And he's filled in extremely well. I mean, the fact they were able to take that first game was incredible, and no one would have really expected it. A lot on his shoulders now as they are pushing through. Can't quite find a kill. Does find the first onto Pyth. Freiburg comes in to get the trade. And there is another player lurking in vents there.
He is going to drop his way through as they then begin to make their execute out on towards bomb site. Modi in close proximity as well, just playing over by window, will peer through, sees them in the reflection but can't quite find the frag. Will eventually take down Exist though, goes back for more but gets bested in Mortal Kombat as Forest is able to execute him with that AK-47 into a 3 versus 3 now. Still, lurking away in vents is going to be Nico, tries to pop out, finds that frag off on towards Freiburg. Forest also hits the deck off the back of Valde. And here is Get Right, left on his lonesome. There's that Mach 10 in hand. Rattles off a couple of pot shots, actually takes down Snappy. Can he upgrade to the AWP here? Seems like he can, but what can he actually achieve with this powerhouse? Dan.
Yeah, I mean, if he can find one, if someone gets a little bit aggressive with their push, if they say, oh, I'm going to have a little cheeky peek, then perhaps he might be able to find a few exit frags. There's obviously no time to plant this one, as Heroic will pick up a round. No one is going to challenge Get Right just yet, though, so we will take an AWP into the next round. Still plenty of money to work with for NiP. With all those SMG kills, they've got a healthy bank. And Heroic now need to push on from that round win. Their buy still isn't incredible. It's definitely a lot weaker than NiP's. But they are favoured being on that CT side. They just need to hold their angles accordingly and continue to be patient as they were earlier on in Train. Try and build from that momentum, from that incredible win against such incredible players in NiP.
Exist once again, testing the waters towards outside, has the backup of his teammates. They are going to have Forest boosted up on towards Silo as well, focusing in over towards Garage, seeing if he can spot anyone out. But no one is there to greet him just yet, as they still make their presence known. Snappy has a nice angle covered here, so if they do walk their way above everyone towards Rafters, he should get that information and can try and strike for the frag as well.
Needs to be careful of someone pushing from A main though, but Forest might walk right into his sights here. This is exactly what he's wanted. Tries to get the spray through, does take down Forest, and now it's 4v3. Finds another one as well onto Pyth. Great M4 work from Snappy as his teammate is eliminated. Lom there goes down, so it's a 3 versus 2. A lot on Get Right's shoulders because he's the one with a lot of health. Will flash himself in, but then backs off and decides, nope, I should probably stick with my teammate here. And he's going to jump up on top of Silo. Maybe even think about grabbing that AWP that is there on walkway. But I wonder if he's going to walk into exactly the same trap that his teammate did.
Oh, right, aware of that position, can take down Snappy. Nicely played by the man. Still continues on his warpath. The bomb is in a bit of an awkward location. Exist isn't great in terms of HP as well. Looking a little bit green around the gills right now as he has to try and find his way through up in towards the A bomb site. Get Right will get such a crucial frag off on towards Nico though, and all of a sudden it's just one man left. Modi with that UMP in hand, rattling off shots, trying to force them back. There's only 13 seconds left on the clock. They have to act now. They need to find that frag as he picks off Exist. Get Right, 5 HP, 6 seconds left on the clock. We'll just have to try and stay alive now as it's too late.
I thought he was going to peek round, and I thought Get Right was going to be able to find him there. Thankfully, I think his heart was pounding pretty fast as Heroic put another point on the scoreboard, and they do find their way back into the game. It's what we should expect them being on the CT side now. They should put several rounds and just string them together, but NiP do still have guns to work with. This is dangerous, giving terrorists that constant AK, giving them a chance to experiment a little bit, decide where they want to push, find the weaknesses, find the flaws, and that's when players of such a high caliber will strike. As Lom is going to take position once again in A main. See if he can find anything with this UMP. It looks like they're going to consider a push straight out onto Squeaky. They're going to go straight through, but Nico is there to shut down any sort of push. It is absolutely thwarted as he picks up the 3K. He's carrying on from his incredible form from Train, and they have control of the bomb as well.
Nicely played from Heroic into this. They've been able to just shut down anything NiP bring to the table. Oh, the backstab nearly comes out from Exist, but actually gets punished by Valde. Finds that frag very easily, and it's just Forest left in a 1 versus 5 now. Unfortunately for him, will get sidelined, swiped down by Modi. Hits the deck, and that's going to be all tied up. 3 to 3 with Ninjas in Pajamas. Not looking too healthy in terms of economy.
No, this is going to have to be an eco round for them. Might be able to buy up a pistol or two if they really want to. We've seen them do crazy things on their eco rounds. They have taken a few off Heroic already, but it's definitely not easy to do on Nuke. As we are going to see just the standard play from Heroic once again, but 2 players are actually, one's going to go drop down to B site as the other's just going to take position at ramp. As NiP, interestingly, are pushing outside here, Jackie. And is that an interesting decision? It looks like they're trying to go down secret here. What's their game plan?
Just want to work their way through Secret, try and potentially go for those close quarter battles, see if they can overpower their opponents in that sort of scenario. Obviously just force the rotate out as well. Valde has to commit very heavily here to get that frag off on towards Forest, but unfortunately his teammates were just slightly out of position. They will still get that trade back as Freiburg chimes in with a P250 frag. Can he get a follow-up one? Tries to take down Lom, but he is able to stay alive for the meantime. Nico also coming in with one on towards Get Right, and they're just picking them off one by one.
Yep, just 2 remaining now, both stuck in vents as well, and the drop down will come through from Nico, straight into vents, finds one, finds a second, and that will be another round on the board for Heroic. A nice eco bash for them, and now NiP need to buy up, they need to try something a little bit different. They went for that quick, fast-paced push down through vents. It didn't work out because of the positioning from Nico. Perhaps they need to go for something a little bit different, perhaps a ramp push. They've tried outside a couple of times. It did work early on, but now that Heroic have got this money and they've got an AWP to work with, it suddenly becomes extremely difficult to make those decisions for NiP.
It's true indeed. Aggression towards that A-bomb site very early on as well towards upper. They are going to throw that Molotov out. I suppose a little bit of damage over. Lom comes in with a huge frag off on towards Forest, but what else can they achieve? Seeming like he actually might want to go for a drop in towards Squeaky, but will hold himself back for the meantime. They are going to smoke them off and force Ninjas in Pajamas to reposition, but Get Right comes in, strikes from the sidelines. He takes down Lom. An upper. Looking like it might be open now.
And that's what happens when it can be in that 4v4 situation. It's usually one angle that is left open, and Get Right did find it. He found the chink in the armor and he's able to push in, get the frag. Snappy will back off from heaven. Isn't going to be able to find anything just yet, and this is suddenly a very awkward round for Heroic, as NiP are going to take some after plants. What are you going to come through? Hut possibly here will be greeted by Freiburg as the first point of contact, and Freiburg will easily win that 1v1 because he is a monster. I'm not entirely surprised. Snappy does get a frag on to Get Right. I think that may possibly just be a consolation, as he is going to back off just to save this weapon here. Better from NiP, a nice execution, able to get into A site, but you've got to say a lot of that rests on Get Right, just lurking around, managing to find his way into A, and Freiburg hunting, unfortunately wasn't able to find that kill. Pyth finishes it off, but the important thing I believe is Snappy saving that AWP, Jackie.
Yeah. It's quite vital that he holds on Saturn to follow him around. Really needs to have it to try and lock down outside control. And that's where, you know, NiP have been thriving so much. They've been allowed to get outside control, where they can work their way through, and from that point onwards, they can just gain control of the map and lock things down. With that AWP in the hands of Snappy, it allows him to try and counter that a little bit more. But I want to see him actually start to come out big with these frags. We know he has so much potential behind him, but he really needs to prove that to us now.
I wonder if NiP are going to suss out that A main was a little bit of a flaw in the last round, as Exist is going to... Well, he considered bursting out on ramp there, but the smoke will stop him completely in his tracks. And Modi will hold the fort here at B ramp, as Get Right is just dancing around in smoke, just trying to survive at the moment. Has he dropped down into vents? Yes, he has. He will find his way onto B site now, and I wonder if anyone is going to follow suit, as he's going to push in, and thankfully Modi is there to stop Get Right from making any sort of progress into that B site. But the bomb is pushing round to B ramp here.
Approach coming out. The angle is covered by Snappy, but can he find the frags? The flick goes up, but he couldn't quite land it, unfortunately. Forced to retreat as well now. And ramp control has been completely lost. The T's can slip through. He needs to rotate off towards that lower bomb site. And the CTs that are there defend it. And will it be claimed by the ever-aggressing T's trying to take control as they slip their way through? Modi will open the doors here. Trying to peek through, rattles off a few pot shots, will land attack, but can't convert it into a frag just yet. Forrest actually finds one off on towards Lom as well, as he strikes with a juicy little headshot.
Look how weak all of these NiP players are. And Valda will come from behind and pick up the kill onto Forrest, and his teammates are going to come in and do damage as well, leaving just one left. And finished off accordingly by Valda. Heroic back on the scene, 5-4 up now. And that AWP save did prove crucial. They were able to buy around it. And now, once again, money looking sparse for NiP. And of course, 4 rounds already isn't bad on Nuke on the T side, so they will be relatively happy with that. Another couple, and they'll be very happy going into their second half. I mean, what do you think is an acceptable scoreline on Terrorist side, Jackie?
Obviously, you want to try and get somewhere in the region of sort of, 5 to 6 rounds at the very least, if that's how you want to go through this. If it's anywhere below that, then you are just going to be shut down immediately off the back of a pistol if it doesn't go in your favour. So that's kind of, that lower restricted end of scores.
Snappy just taking position in garage here, see if he can find anything, but he can't just yet. Exist is down very weak though, and Valda will open up the scoring onto Forrest. Just here in secret, finds a double with the grenade, gets the third as well. Really important triple kill, and now his teammates should be able to come and mop up the rest of the pieces of NiP. But Get Right, once again, has found himself into sight, but he can't hit the shots! And Nico turns around and punishes him for missing those pistol shots. And now Freiburg is the last lone survivor of NiP. And his only hope, really, is to try and save this AK, but even that is going to be extremely difficult with Lom lurking around here.
Here he comes, in for the backstab and takes him down with that UMP there as he rips his way through him very easily. Calm, cool and collective. And you can see the economy on Heroic absolutely booming out of control, whereas NiP, it's not looking too fantastic at all. They are stuck with nothing really to play with.
Not at all. The Heroic just continuing to press on, continuing their CT dominance. As expected, really. Especially considering their 16-11, well, unexpected win, as Freiburg will burst in. He tries to get down vents, but immediately he's shut down, and Lom is there as well. And all 4 members take that 5 are punished. It was just one of those throwaway rounds. NiP just getting it over and done with. They knew they had a little hope. They wanted to get into this buy round nice and quickly, and it is finally going to be 5 AKs for NiP now. No AWPs. Pushing through. And perhaps we need to see something a little bit different. We've seen the explosive attacks onto B. We've seen the slow, methodical plays onto A as well, and their most success came when Get Right was lurking and found himself getting into A main without being spotted. We'll see what NiP can do this round.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, NiP looked very dominant early on when it started to slip away from them. Nice use of utility here as they execute their way out on towards that A-bomb site. They are going to go for a vent drop. Lom will actually find the frag off on towards Wife as he spams through the smoke. Exist fires back on towards Snappy. Forest unfortunately will hit the deck, and that's 2 players now picked off from the side of NiP. Freiburg, in the meantime, has slipped his way in towards B. They've got that bomb planted. Get Right is there to try and aid him as well, holding back the incoming onslaught of CT players as they're trying to barrage their way back in towards the B bomb site. Headshots galore start to rain out. Freiburg with one, Get Right with one as well, but unfortunately they get picked off in the end by Nico with a huge double kill. The defuse will shortly come in. Heroic 8 rounds to 4 now as they start to lead absolutely dominantly.
Nico once again the clutch factor for Heroic. He has really been playing out of his mind. An absolutely phenomenal performance for him. And now NiP will have to buy up here. They do have the losing bonus, so they've got money to work with. And an 8-4 deficit. They won't be too disappointed. They just need, as you said, 1 or 2 rounds here. They'll be happy. But they're struggling at the moment to get through the defensive wall of Heroic. And Heroic, as they were earlier in train, their CT side is just very patient. They're holding their angles and they're winning their battles.
That's the thing. Heroic, they don't get overconfident. They don't have to go for these aggressive pushes. This is about the most initiative in terms of aggression we've ever seen coming out here from Valde, actually going for this close angle. If they don't clear this, he could absolutely dominate this, and this could be ridiculous if executed perfectly. Won't have the trigger patience, though. Goes in for 1 frag. Does take down Forest, but is immediately swiped out of the scenario as they fire back. Get Right also going to claim 1 frag as he takes down Lom. This is looking like a round that Ninja Bizarro could potentially pick up now as well. Snappy, trapped on his lonesome towards outside, is going to be forced to back off, try and reposition, as he is going to alert his teammates that Secret has been compromised.
Freiburg will try and pick up this kill, though. Can't quite finish the spray down. Needs to be careful. His teammate is there to help him, and they do have a 3 versus 2 advantage. And unfortunately, Get Right has gone down after lurking around, but now it's just Nico remaining against the 3 members of NiP. We've seen him do it in pistol rounds. Can he do it with an AK? They'll be well aware that he's there in vents. He needs to be careful trying to push out here. This is a really awkward situation. They will come at him from all angles and can't find the kill. Exist will punish him. And NiP gets a 5th round on the board. Got to give credit to Get Right. He's obviously the king lurker, he always has been, and he is finding those crucial kills that's allowing NiP to get back into this game, to be honest.
Yeah, there's been some massive impact frags that have come out from him. NiP have been performing quite well on a lot of key rounds. It just seems like they've let things slip towards the end and haven't really, once again, they haven't really nipped Heroic's playstyle in the bud. They're still trying their very similar sort of style of CS.
Snappy once again with the AWP. Just going to line up his sights onto Squeaky in case anyone pushes through, but it's not going to be a fast push just yet. As Get Right once again is just going to be lurking here around Hut as the rest of his team are pushing outside. He's done it so effectively. And whilst they didn't do it in train Heroic, they have pushed 1 or 2 through radio, and they've been punished for it as Valda opens up the kills onto Exist. So NiP will be slowed down slightly here, but Valda is stuck between a rock and a hard place.
That's true indeed. He's going to try and go for the peak though. Oh, close, but so far as Freiburg is able to overpower him there. Takes him down and leaves things in a 3 versus 4 scenario. Ninjas in Pyjamas trying to make the best out of this round. Forest, if he can work his way up here and actually find that frag onto the player just sitting in nest. Snappy with that AWP scoped in, trying to gain control of outside. Nico there, actually, as he holds it down. Oh, Moddy will be picked off as well by Pipe. Snappy peeks up, but Pipe says hello as he lands that headshot immediately and puts him in an early grave. This is looking dominant now for NiP. Heroic with just 2 players left standing in Lom and Nico. This isn't the scenario they wanted to be in.
This would be an absolutely incredible round if NiP can pick this one up. It could prove to be vital come towards the end of the game. Lom is just trying to take a defense here, and Nico will get shut down, leaving it just down to Lom now, who's going to be facing off against Forest in a 1v1. So you've got your coach of Heroic against one of the most heroic players ever to be on NiP in the hands of Forest. A lot on Lom's shoulders now as the bomb is going to go down. It's not going to be faked. So smart decision there from Forest. And I wonder who he's going to be first to peak, who's going to take the initiative As Forrest is going to jump above, gets the height advantage, shuts down Lom, and a 6th round is put on the board for NiP, which is absolutely huge for them.
Yeah, that's a massive round. It was very vital that they picked that one up. And down to the wire as well, Lom, you know, basically bounding away out there, just trying to hide and stay alive was the smart play to call for in that situation. Time was very of the essence. There wasn't a lot left into that one, and Forrest just barely skimming his way through it.
Well, he skimmed, and it was a successful skim. As now, Heroic will want to try and put that 9th on the board. It will be important to do so. 8-7 will not be a fantastic scoreline on their CT half, especially if they were looking so dominant, but they did lose the pistol, so you have to bear that in mind. As now, Heroic are getting a little bit overzealous, and they are going to be pushing out. They are going to get some aggression, but Get Right once again is going to be waiting, but he's going to get caught with a grenade out. So Modi will take him down, and he will find an AK as a reward. And we're back to 4v4 as the smokes will come out. Exist is going to find his way down to Secret, and perhaps they're going to try and push down onto this B site here, Jackie.
Yeah, just bombarding their way down. They've been able to get into Secret as they now work their way in towards that B bomb site. But will they find their way in? Will they get free entry? Will they allow themselves to locate the welcome mat and gain control of the site? Or will Lom hold them back, tell them you shall not pass? He comes in with the opening frag off on towards Pipe. Exist will trade it back very swiftly. And they grab the bomb as well now, left in a 2 versus 3 situation here. Lurking around in vents is going to be Nico himself, just waiting to see if they will pop out on towards the site. Freiberg will strike off on towards Modi. Leaves things now on a tight 2 versus 2. Make that 2 versus 1. It's just Snappy left standing with the AWP. And he is over by Ramp, just holding it. But realizes this is a task that he doesn't want to be involved in. We'll just back off for the meantime. Work his way up towards that upper bomb site, hoping they're going to come up through vents. They aren't there yet. He is going to have to go all the way back round.
A risky decision to make, but if it had paid off, it could have been absolutely fantastic, as he's now going to have to rush back down onto Ramp, see if he can find anyone on the B bomb site, but no one is playing ball. They are just going to take very defensive positions here, and he's going to actually drop his AWP to try and pick up the AK. Does break the glass, does look for the first one, but just backing off onto the site, Freiberg. He's just toying with him, dancing between these doors, just trying to bide as much time as possible. A lot resting on this round here. If NiP can pick it up, it would be huge for them, and Snappy is going to look to try and get it, but thankfully for NiP, absolutely incredible work from Freiberg, being able to dance around, and a really important kill. But that is going to be half time, so we will be back shortly. Don't go anywhere. So, a closely contested first half between NiP and Heroic on Nuke. And really, it's got to go in favour of NiP. I mean, 7 rounds on the T side, that's not something to sniff at.
Yeah, that's very true indeed. You know, it was an interesting half, to say the least. It pulled out some crazy things out of the bag. It went down to the wire quite a multitude of times, and really didn't go the way I expected in a few key rounds. But it was interesting, to say the least, and NiP did a great job of actually securing those rounds. And this is where it gets scary, obviously, then moving on to that CT side, where they can definitely prove how dominant they are on this map.
I mean, in comparison to Train, I definitely think NiP had a little bit more in their arsenal of their pushes. For Nuke, Heroic, they were doing so well to start with, and I was thinking we were possibly looking at a 2-0 win for them, but suddenly NiP find themselves getting back into the game. And a lot of the times we found Lom was that lone survivor. He was the last one to try and go clutch, and he did in some situations, but that's not a position you want your coach to really be in, so perhaps we need to see the rest of Heroic stepping up around him. A little bit more from Nico. He had such a great game on Train, but hasn't done too much yet on Nuke. Where do you think Heroic go now on this T side? Obviously the pistol is going to be incredibly important, but if they do win that pistol and they do push on, do you think they could possibly get 7 rounds of their own?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of potential behind them, especially off the back of those pistol rounds. As we were saying, they're a dominant pistol team, and Nuke has a lot of potential for just burst-style play in those early pistol rounds. If we see them even just go for a standard upper take, work their way out towards that bomb site, they could rip their way through their opposition very easily if they're able to land those shots, like we know they can do with those weapons. They're effective with the Glocks. We've seen Nico in the past be absolutely dominant as well, and as you were saying, we need him to step up to that prior form, though. If he comes in firing from all cylinders in these first few pistol rounds, this is where it's going to be absolutely major.
And obviously, Get Right made a huge impact in that game. He was just lurking in middle so often, and Heroic, slightly different to Train. They were pushing out a little bit on Nuke. They were trying to get some information. They thought everyone was outside, and Get Right was just sneakily laughing to himself, waiting and picking up a kill. They'd get that man advantage, and that's when they'd push in. Do you think we're going to see something slightly similar from Heroic? Do you think they're going to have a lurker as well? And will it pay off as effectively as NiP were able to do so?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right in terms of just how Get Right played alone, though. That was fantastic stuff, to say the least. He was really coming into a form of his own once again, which is what we wanted to see. And he was basically just discombobulating them at every turn. They didn't have anything they could do for that. And it was just very clutch level play from Get Right, especially towards outside. He knew what he needed to do, was great in terms of backstabbing and shutting things down. And yeah, we're definitely going to see that lurk style of CS coming out. It's something that is very standard, especially on a map like Nuke. It's very potential to use it. You can shut a lot of things down, and especially with the new changes to Nuke as well, it complements a lot of that play style with that more aggressive style of CS. If you want to just hold back, try and backstab a lot more and, you know, complement your team in that way, especially just for information play, it works very easily. Yeah,
I definitely think the backstabs are going to come into play. Just someone pushing down to B, coming up to Secret. We saw that happening several times. Valda was able to do that successfully. I think a lot relies on Snappy on this T side. I wonder if he's going to take an aggressive AWP kind of style and try and push outside, get those picks. We didn't see much of it from NiP. Yeah. We didn't see much AWP play, but do you think we are going to see that from Heroic? Are they going to put so much pressure on Snappy's shoulders?
Yeah, if we see outside control coming out, which is, you know, essentially should be quite a major factor, is where you take the majority of your aim battles. If Snappy is going to be there, he needs to be that point man. He needs to be on point with the AWP, has to go out there, lead the charge, find those opening frags on anyone that is stationed up towards Garage if they're going to be playing that aggressive style of CS. If Forest is there trying to fire back, and it really just needs to come down to that. They have to land their shots, though. As Heroic seem like they found a little bit of a lull. They don't seem to be as energetic as they were in the previous match.
Well, it'll certainly be a good time to find your energy now on T side on Nuke. And it is going to be a fast burst out onto A, but Valda is immediately shut down by Freiburg. Thankfully, there is the response from Snappy, who picks up 2, and they've gained control of this A site. They're smoked off as well, Get Right, but unfortunately, Forest comes through Hut and will stop the plan from happening. Modi will get the reply, and it's a 3v1, leaving Get Right with it all to do. We said he's been such a key factor in this first half, but he really needs to step up now if he's going to be able to do anything. He's going to quickly try and rotate up to Heaven, but they are going to hear that, and it's going to be extremely difficult for him to be able to pick up this round. This should go to Heroic, and that is the perfect way to start this round, but I'm not going to count Get Right out just yet, because this man is capable of just about everything. Unfortunately for him, Heroic have taken their after plants absolutely fantastically, and they will clear up that round. I mean, talk us through that. How did they manage to pick up such important pistol kills there, Jackie?
And this is sort of what I expect to see from them. You know, that standard just burst aggression towards that A bomb site. You burst your way out towards the upper bomb site, you roll your way through door, essentially you send 2 players through Hut as well. You just try and get those initial frags. If you get those shots off, best the players that are on upper. It's essentially just a battle of attrition. You overwhelm your opposition, you know there's only going to be 2 men stationed on that site, 3 at the most. You try and find those initial frags, you shut them down, and it just worked very well. Snappy came up with 2 massive pistol frags before he got traded out, and it was just the fact that, you know, they were able to land their shots. They went in, sure they lost the first player, but they had that instant snapback trade, and then went on to take the lead and just won it just off the back of some fantastic skill.
It's funny how Counter-Strike just does come down to that every now and then. They just did hit their shots, and Heroic, well, if they can continue hitting their shots, then perhaps they can move on and take this series 2-0, which no one would expect, let's be honest, as Pyth will try and take down anyone, but Snappy is there to finish him off with the AK, and now they're going to push down quickly onto this B bomb site, and several players from NiP have now reacted to that. They are dropping in, but it's whether they're going to be able to actually find any kills with these pistols.
Yeah, they shouldn't be able to achieve too much, but what can they actually bring to the table here? Unfortunately, Exist will get taken down before he shows us what he can do with that CZ. Forest, with just a measly scout in hand, will be roaming around. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually backs off and just try to hold on to this weapon. Could actually get the frag off here. As you can see, Valdi very low is going to go for the push. Oh, Forest should have taken him down there. What a whiff on display. The apple crumble comes out, and he couldn't quite take him down.
Why apple crumble? Looks more like a rhubarb to me.
Yeah, the Crimble Crumble.
The Crimble Crumble came out He didn't know that the player was weak, could have just tagged him in the body, and that would have taken him down. And now Heroic can press on. These are the rounds that they should be taking after that pistol round, but it's also detrimental to the morale of NiP. I mean, even losing the pistol round, even losing these rounds where you are eco, it's still hard to swallow, because that is just adding up onto the T side, and you know you can't give away these T rounds. As now they are going to take the outside approach. It's going to be full eco, just USPs for NiP here. And they are going to get dirty, they're going to get into it, but they've got a little bit overconfident, and Freiburg will find the first pick onto Valder. Won't be able to get the weapon though, unless he does try and push through smoke here. It looks like he is going to try and do so, see if he can find the weapon on the floor, but he's not going to be able to grab that one. If he could have got it, it would have been a little bit different, but Snappy's going to be above him on walkway, and might try and edge his way around to heaven here. Yeah,
that just looked very sloppy with him just peeking on his own like that. Just got taken down off the back of Freiburg, just being able to best him very easily. Snappy should overpower Pyth though as he works his way over towards Nest. He is in a tight little angle. It is going to be awkward, but he should be able to strike. Pyth completely aware of his positioning now. Biding his time, hoping that he can go for that lucky frag, but it isn't going to work out. Snappy snaps his neck as he goes round, takes it down, and the rest of his teammates follow suit as they all hit the deck. A very quick round for Heroic there as they burst their way out towards the A-bomb site and just tear their way through everyone on the side of NiP.
And Pyth was so patient there in heaven. I was thinking he was going to burst out as soon as he heard shots being fired, but in the end he took the decision to hope that perhaps he was going to walk past him, but thankfully the angle was checked in the end, and the pre-fire did just rattle into the head of Pyth. Now there are some weapons in the hands of NiP, but it isn't the strongest device. Just a FAMAS and a UMP for Get Right. So if they can find those angles, if they can find those positions where the SMG is sitting, or even where the FAMAS is sitting, then perhaps that's the weakness that they need to go for. As the windows will be shot out, and now smokes and flashes can go into that A site. And perhaps this is going to be an execute as members will come in here.
Yeah, this could be absolutely huge. Exist though will actually get taken down. Massive shot coming out from Valde, and he's on for the hat trick as well. Tap, tap, tapping as he obliterates the opposition. Ninjas in Pajamas hit the deck, and they will be sleeping.
And those are the kind of kills that we expect from them as the rest try and push up vents. They are thwarted. And now Heroic go 12-7 up, and they push NiP back once again to very little economy. And this is looking absolutely fantastic for Heroic. A Heroic that were in the relegation last season. I do want to put that out there. And they're currently besting Ninjas in Pajamas. I did not think I would be saying that.
Yeah, this is ridiculous to say the least. Just tearing their way through Ninjas in Pajamas on Nuke, a map that NiP have always felt so comfortable and so at home, but Heroic are just unstoppable. Amazing to see Exist playing a little bit of a stealthy game there as he was tucked up. Wanted to try and dump down and surprise him, but unfortunately just received an abundance of bullets straight into his body for his trouble. Nico as well with the backup of Modi are just going to be picking off all of these eco in CTs, and it just falls on Forest now, down trapped with his Deagle. A trusty weapon, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't achieve too much into this round.
Yeah, might be able to get one or two, but I don't really think he's going to be able to do too much. Tries to get a wall bang, and that will give away his position, and Nico will come in finishing the round. That was interesting from Exist. He did have the advantage with the pistol shots, and then he just dropped to his doom early in the round, and now Heroic get a 13th on the board. Just 2 away from forcing what would only be an overtime for NiP, and just 3 away from winning the map. And it would be a series win, a 2-0 win over NiP. And that would be an absolutely incredible way for Heroic to start their ESL Pro League Season 5. There's now a lot rests on the shoulders of NiP. They need to respond. They need to come back into this game right now in this round.
Yeah, this is where they really need to kick it up into 5th gear. Bring your A game and bring it hard as they push their way out on towards the bomb site. Exist hiding in the rafters, firing death from above. A flurry of bullets comes down. We'll pick up a 2K. Get Right as well, AWP in hands, wielding it like an absolute madman as he strikes and obliterates Lom from a distance. Wants to try and slip his way back into the nest as well. Thinking about going through the fire and flames, but we'll hold back for the meantime. Pyth is there as well, so they can strike at the same time. He unfortunately will be smoked off again. Nice use of facility from Heroic, but it's all gone now. They've used it all, and this is where it just comes down to those aim battles. They have one flash between them on that CT side. Luckily, they have the kits to work with. Get Right will flash in, and this is what they'll execute in the bomb site. Snappy will unfortunately get taken down, but Nico, he's been so damaging, will take down Get Right very easily, switches over on towards Pyth as well, and executes him. and it's looking like they want to go the whole hog here. They want to shut it down. 14 rounds on the board now for Heroic.
That's a possible game over for NiP as well. They are going to force up and buy. They don't want to let Heroic get to 15 rounds easily. But who would have called this one? Heroic currently besting Ninjas in Pyjamas. As I said earlier, an incredible performance. A great way to start the Pro League for them with a nice, juicy set of points. But it is still possible for NiP to get back into this, as Get Right is just burnt to a slight crisp. It will just be slightly brown, just like that toast coming out in the morning. And now, Valda trying to do anything he can outside, as it seems anywhere Get Right goes, there is a Molotov that is magneted to his bottom.
And that was really good as well. That's the thing, you know, it's smart. Heroic are using the utility very well. They're using those Molotovs how you'd want to do so. You're zoning out your opposition, not allowing the CTs to get in those fantastic spots, getting aggressive. They're just forced to fall back or deal with the amount of damage that they have to take. It's delaying them, and it's a great job. They also get the opening frag. Sure, they've taken a bit of damage. Nico is very low just on 8 HP, but they haven't lost the numbers. They're still in a great spot here into this round. A minute left on the clock as well. There's all left to play for.
Yeah, just 4 members left of NiP. It's going to be extremely difficult for them to hold this one, as now Snappy has made his way into heaven. Will find the spray down as well, as Exist does get the trade onto Lom, but Get Right is lurking around, gets the kill with an UMP, and thankfully, eventually, Nico picks it up, and it's now all left on Forest. This is a do-or-die moment. If he loses this round, this game is pretty much over, but he does find a little tap-tap-taparoo onto Snappy, and there is a very low Nico planting the bomb, but he is planting it at B site. Forest will be well aware, and he has to move fast here.
Yeah, this is going to be such an important round as well. Forest needs to pick this one up. Nico is only on 3 HP, but he has that AK, and we know he can slay with it. Is he going to be able to do so once again? Has a prime time angle as he's just tucked in, back by Dark. If Forest doesn't clear this angle, he should be shut down very quickly. Looks like he's just going to walk straight up to the bomb. Nico is just allowed to line up the shot and then execute him. Forest gets taken down. What an awkward way to lose that round. Ninjas in Pyjamas now moments away from potentially losing the second game.
And the series, I think, is what is the important thing to say here. And they have got a little bit of money to work with, but this is dire straits now for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Heroic, they can almost taste the victory already. And despite being on such low health, Nico still being able to pull off the clutch. Yes, okay, he faced someone who was turned away from him, but it's still important to get those kills. But now, can Heroic put Ninjas in Pyjamas to bed here? Can they put that final nail into the coffin and get themselves a nice secured win early on in Pro League, as there is some spray down coming through from Nico. Does do a lot of damage, but unfortunately for him, Freiburg is able to escape with his life.
Yeah, he will get away. He is staying alive, but they need to win this round. They have to bring their A-game here. Limited in terms of their arsenal. They have the Mag 7 on Pyth. We know he can be damaging with a weapon, but he has to be in close range proximity to each and, you know, really deal a blow. They've also got those 2 UMPs, which sure have range capability, but going up against these AKs that are proving supreme, as Valde chimes in as he takes down Get Right, someone that's really been the glue sticking this Ninjas in Pyjamas squad together right now throughout this matchup. Being executed so early on could be detrimental. Freiburg peeks out of the vents, spams his way through Snappy, wants to try and get the follow-up frag as well. Will transfer an abundance of damage, but can't quite get the frag. Lom is allowed to execute Pyth, and it just falls onto Forest. Once again, the last man left standing. Will he be taken down? Of course he will. The spam comes through. Lom will be the man to execute him, and there you have it. Both maps are going to be scored by Heroic. A very ridiculous upset coming into play to kick off Season 5 of Pro League.
I'm not sure anyone would have expected that. We certainly didn't. I'm sure the viewers at home wouldn't have expected it either. I don't even think Ninjas in Pyjamas would have expected that one, but as we've said, an incredible start to the season for Heroic. Not what NiP would have wanted. A lot to work on from them. They will look back on this and say what really went wrong. But now Heroic can press on and potentially, I mean, with beating NiP, one of the best teams in the world, they could, dare I say it, could they even think about finals? Probably not. They'd be getting ahead of themselves, but they can now taste the sweet victory. They can get the champagne out tonight, as it is, well, a mind-blowing performance from them. And what went wrong for NiP, do you think, Jackie? Or should I say, what went right for Heroic?
I mean, Heroic in terms of just what went right. they played to their strengths. They knew what they're good at, they knew how to play their style of CS, and it just worked for them. Early on that pistol round, just that explosive take towards the A bomb site, you know, I mean, they won both the pistols as well. That's 6 rounds right there, essentially, they were able to pick up just off the bat, just for being superior with those pistols and performing just fantastically at being able to land those individual shots. Individual performance was so much higher on that side as well. The tempo was there, you could see everything just worked in terms of them taking their fights. They knew what aim battles they could win, and they were confident in the majority of them that they went for, and that's all it was. They just played to their strengths and were able to overcome NiP that seemed to get a little bit stuck in a rut towards the end of that game when it looked like it was in the bag from essentially halfway through. It seemed like, yeah, sure, we've taken a couple of rounds on the chin, but we're working our way back through in our T half. It seemed to be a fairly acceptable half when they came through, but their CT half just had no glue. It just fell apart.
And do you think a lot of this came down to the veto process as well for Heroic to be able to get Train and Nuke, which, let's be honest, they looked extremely comfortable on? I mean, we look back at IEM Oakland, and yes, okay, NiP were able to take down Heroic, but that's 3 months ago. That's 3 months of practice, a slightly different lineup as well. You've got your coach playing for you. Is it the veto process that just won it for them, or was it just individual performances?
Well, this is the thing. You know, they're comfortable on both of these maps. This isn't Ninjas in Pajamas aren't comfortable on these maps. We know they perform well on them. They've played great in the past. It's just, it was the luck of the draw, essentially, in this. You know, going into today's games, it just seemed that NiP weren't really all there, whereas Heroic really brought their A game, started firing from all cylinders, did a great performance. Everyone was on point, especially Nico, just in terms of the amount of, you know, clutch level rounds he was able to pick up that were just outright ridiculous.
Well, Heroic are going to start off their Pro League season in style, taking down NiP 2-0. I don't think anyone really expected it. They are definitely going to be partying tonight. We are going to go for a short break before we get into our second game of the night, which is going to be FaZe versus Kinguin. So go get your kettle on, get a cup of tea ready, because we're going to be back for some more Pro League action.